Welcome guys. Hello everyone. Welcome to another live stream. Happy month. How are you guys doing? Half of the year is gone already. Starting the second half of the year. Hope you guys are doing well and that your trading so far has been upwards. That you guys have learned and progressed as you wished for. Focus more on the process and the outcome. That's kind of the mindset. How did the market react to this? So again, Saturday, weekly market analysis. We're going to take a look at what the market has done a little bit, and of course focus on the week ahead. So if you do have any levels that you like to discuss, to see, let's talk about them. Let's try to find opportunities together for next week, which is going to be an interesting week. It's going to be full of labor market data, all the way from ADP, non-farm payrolls, job openings, unemployment claims, and NFP on Friday, as always. First Friday of every month we have NFP. So yes, especially starting from Wednesday, I expect some volatility in the market. All right, as always, we go and we analyze FX pairs, starting with the dollar index, then we go into the US indices, S&P, NASDAQ, and Dow, looking at DAX a little bit as well. Then we look at the Euro index, Yen index, and then we go into the individual currency pairs, Euro dollar, Pound dollar, Aussie dollar, Yen, CAD, Franc Swiss, and some commodities. We look at gold and oil, and then we finish with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So that's usually how it goes. If you do have any other assets that you like to take a look at, feel free to comment and you can take a look at it as well. So yes, basically try to find out key levels to look for next week. What are we expecting in here in the market? So dollar index, what happened? Right, where was the beginning of the week? 2nd of June, 26, somewhere in here, right? 20 or 30. You kind of had a bullish momentum on the dollar until yesterday's session that we had this move to the downside in here, right? As soon as the PC, actually it was even earlier than that, but straight away in the morning we had a reversal on the dollar index around 9-10 a.m. and then we had the continuation to the downside with the PC data, which came out as expected, which is good news in the US. So yes, again, dollar has been in a range. The bias hasn't been like not really has changed since basically the beginning of the month all the way until here. So we're doing these lows and these highs. And they have been kind of trading in the middle of that range, right? Basically, there's maybe more room to go to downside in here, and there's maybe more room to go to the upside in there. Meanwhile, we are trading everything in here in between. Now you can find some opportunities and some zones that price could react from. For example, this one where price actually reacted yesterday was something that we were looking at as well, just above this size into a fresh level in there. There's maybe another one a little bit in here, and there was a little bit also of a zone in there that was before that. So yeah, that was a zone to look for. Starting to have a little bit of a break of a low even before we reach there, so that eventually that can be a target, start indicating that price may wants to reverse a little bit, but it's still middle of the zone. At least that's how I'm looking at it, and my bias is still not that strong to either direction. I'm still going to just play zone by zone and to see how price may be reacting from each level. Are you going to reach first these lows, or are you going to reach first these highs? I'm not really sure at this point. Is this the low? Am I happy with where this low is reacting from? Not really sure. I think I would prefer actually to see maybe the low going a little bit lower, so that may still be something to look for. On the other hand, do I think that this is the last high and this price is ready to just move like this? Not really sure either. I think there could be even a little bit higher, or even a little bit higher even higher as well. Can even ask the same question regarding this high. Is this high kind of the last one, or is price eventually going to get a little bit closer, going up the way above those highs? Like that's something also that it could happen. So the dollar at this point is kind of a little bit in the middle. Euro dollar, as a consequence, is also behaving somehow in the same way. Kalimera Pedro, Pikanis. Welcome in. What do you think of the dollar? Where are you going to? Right, I'm just going to be playing zone by zone again. At this point, open to all possibilities of looking for price to going down, going up. Yeah, that's a little bit of what I'm going to be looking for. This was a good zone. There's maybe more orders still at these highs created yesterday, but that's something that maybe you can even look for. We just managed to break that. We broke this low as well, so there's maybe a little bit more room to go. Can even retest that low in there. This zone in here can actually be quite interesting. There's maybe some orders in here, right, to look for. Somewhere in there below these lows, there's something in here that seems like a good level. Reacted a little bit from this level as well, created that zone. This could be some kind of reaction from there, and then we can even continue to move down somewhere in there. So you're expecting new lows on EU and then more ranging. Yeah, Monday morning, we may continue to move down. We kind of just broke this low. We may get a little bit closer to this level on the euro dollar, on dollar index, and then we may just continue to move higher again. Or by any chance, we're going to have a deeper retracement, maybe closer to this level, until we kind of resume again to move to the downside. Maybe that's going to be the case in here. Just it is what it is. Sometimes the bias is so obvious, some other times it's a little bit tricky to actually predict. And when that happens, we just play a little bit more zone by zone until you start noticing more information and you get better clues to where price is going to. Right? We are not magicians in here. We're just reacting to the information that price is giving us. And at this point, this is what we get. Yeah, so yeah, dollar index. We did manage to break this low, right? So if I'm about to look at the zones that has been broken, so we managed to break this low. So that may be a little bit more to the downside. Meanwhile, we can have a deep retracement. That's okay. Is this the zone? Does price wants to go above this level of structure in here? Maybe take that level and move to the downside, or is it happy to go just around this level in here and now move again to the downside? Maybe this is the level of structure that was created after the break of this low. So maybe this is somewhere in here where price may wants to go, and before kind of resume again the move to the downside and finally fill this range in here created by the engulf of that low. Right, so perhaps this could be an idea, but you can maybe make the same scenario in thinking in terms of looking for more room to the upside. So that's a little bit of what you have in here. The indices, for example, it has been more clear. Right, now we jump into S&P. What a simple move S&P. Do I say S&P behaved this week? Right, just a simple trend continuation that basically last week and the beginning of this week, all the way until basically the 27th. That was what, Tuesday maybe. That we broke to the upside. We broke this trend line. Again, we were looking as a target below this low, right, to something that you're looking for. And then, of course, you're looking even a little bit more farther down on the retest of the high from August, right? That was the key zone that we were actually looking for, the retest of this level in here. So price just took the low. You left the zone behind, so that may be used in the future whenever price decides to go there. Meanwhile, you started to break again the clues that start to happen even before price turns. Like started to break even highs before actually the low, the final reversal happens. Like the break of this high and price respecting these lows, most likely it made many people be interested in buying in here, especially because the move to the upside was quite strong as well. Maybe see this as a demand. Maybe many people try to look for longs in here. As you can see, price still kind of was a little bit respected until finally kind of a little bit broken, until finally you have the fake out of the lows, which is then used in here, right? So again, break of that one, this could have been one entry, and then you have the better entry afterwards, which is actually after the proper break of the trend line and after even breaking off this high. Now we go and retest the previous level of supply, or this previous level of resistance. That can work really nicely as a demand. Now kind of supply becomes into kind of demand, or this Quasimodo that is in here. All right, price should have done this, it didn't, so now it actually works on the opposite side as a long, right? What didn't work as a sell kind of work as a long in here, almost to the pip, if you actually consider this left shoulder in here. So that was a good setup. Again, we even have another break to the high. This is a confirmation, the second break of a high, which we confirms that price is about to then fill. And what will be the target, right? Natural target, initial target, as we mentioned so many times, it will be the compression. Like we actually talked about this setup last week. That was exactly my prediction that I did. The only difference between my prediction, I haven't made the drawing, we can even check it from last week's analysis on S&P. It was that I predicted that the low would actually touch the previous level of resistance, and it will touch this demand zone in here, like from August. It will touch that high. That was the only thing that didn't happen based on what I mentioned in that sense. Like first the break of a high. I even mentioned that I would even like to see the break of a trend line first before the fake out. In this case, it was just the break of a high, and then you had the rest of the move. And the rest happen afterwards. Like with the initial target, as I mentioned, it will be the retest to fill out this compression in here. Right, so it's an easy compression to identify with use of a trend line. It will be quite easy to then use it as a target somewhere in there, with the possibility of actually price moving even upwards. Right, and you can see how beautiful the decision point it was between, because as soon as price feels the compression, it's going to make a decision. Like it either kind of respects it and kind of starts moving down, or it actually kind of makes decision and breaks above that zone. Right, so this level in here can actually be quite interesting for the future to see how price is going to react from there. What we also mentioned about the S&P is that and this was one of the difference between NASDAQ, even though NASDAQ may even break the highs. But what we also noticed about the S&P is that this high in here is that this high created in here, it was still not most likely the final high on this move to the upside. Right, because we're still looking for price maybe to get a little bit closer to this level and not just react from where it was created, this previous high. So yes, we are still open to the possibility of price maybe even going higher, maybe getting a little bit closer to this level, if not even taking completely these highs in here and getting a little bit more closer to this level of structure. Right, so for now, let's see how price is going to react around this 4,454. That will be kind of the first level to look for. Right, and this is just to see, like if you're comparing what we just look at the dollar index, a little bit more indecision, a little bit more in the middle, not so clear in terms of price action. Some other assets, they may offer actually a much clearer path. What should we expect from price, right? In this case, for example, I'm as you know, I'm a traditional counter trend trader. This could have been a kind of a counter trend trade in a short term, looking for the higher time frame direction that price has been. Like price has been doing this bullish momentum for quite a few months already. So there you go. That will be one of the opportunities to look for during this last week that just passed by. Right, and then you need to study your job. Or our job in the sense, it will be, yes, we did make the prediction, or kind of we see where maybe where is a potential target, a potential setup, but then you need to study what will be, or where would be the best levels to the zones to look for an entry. Like what kind of price action we actually want to identify in order to actually execute the trade and get long in there, right? Where it will be the zones as soon as you break the wall. Is there any kind of confirmation that maybe could even enter under test now of the wall that we just broke somewhere in here? Was there any trigger to look for an entry? And then after you finally break kind of the trend line, you break this highs, where it will be the zone to look for. And next, like what kind of price section we actually have somewhere in here that could have actually help with the long in this scenario, right? What is the confirmation, and so on and so forth. Again, the demand zone, as soon as you break another high, break out this low, and it keeps going, right? So again, this is the second part that you need to identify. This is going to be your edge. This is how you're actually going to try to get into the market, and so on and so forth. So that's a job for you to do. But it's something that you need to be clear, and you can actually be able to predict it before it happens, right? So you are ready to execute whatever, whenever that happens. So there you go. We fake out the high. We started to compress a little bit again. We have this demand zone. It's going to be interesting to see how price is going to react next week. I think, yeah, this week, first week of July, the main focus is going to be on unemployment. And we are close to start the Q2 season, the earnings season for the US stocks, which is going to be maybe middle of July. It's going to be quite interesting to see the earnings, especially for the companies related to the AI that has been the biggest ones that has pushed literally market to this bullish momentum that we have. If the results are not as expected, if there's anything that doesn't really match the expectation that price has created, that can be a good negative reaction in the market eventually for the indices. That's going to be middle of July. Just something to keep an eye on. Yeah, so we may continue to move higher. Let's see, right? So the move from last week has happened. We reach our target, and now we're getting a little bit closer to this level. So there you go. Let's keep an eye on how price actually is going to behave somewhere from here. Is it going to create momentum to the upside? So two levels to look for. Maybe if you break that level, or then somewhere in here and also in here as well, something to look for, and maybe you will be able to trade or find opportunities to trade in between this range, depending on how price actually moves in between that level. With still even the possibility of eventually price going all the way, even taking this wall, right? Because we actually left this level in here behind, and eventually this level could even be used for the future. Fake out this low, react from there, and maybe have some kind of reaction from here. So this is just something to even keep an eye on as well on the S&P, right? So there you go. Let's see what's going to happen next in here. And then we have NASDAQ, right? NASDAQ, quite interesting. I actually didn't do the exercise to go check on the war time frame, but most likely there's actually something in here on the war time frame. But on NASDAQ, I actually did it, right? So again, we are looking for this previous level of resistance, or price to touch this level of resistance that most likely could become support somewhere in there. However, if you actually then go into the lower time frame, you could see exactly where actually this will reacted from, right? Because the level itself, or the demand itself, is actually a little bit above it. It's within this structure, which you could see in the lower time frame exactly in there, right? And that's a little bit the difference between just doing analysis on a higher time frame, and if you completely ignore the levels on the lower time frame, then you may miss out on these kind of reactions in here, or it don't really make sense to you why price just stopped kind of few pips above it, or in that zone, instead of actually going to the higher time frame level, right? That's why it's important to zoom in and to check the lower time frames in there. Wait, then what do you make of NASDAQ? Do you look at NASDAQ, right? I think you do. So NASDAQ, right? So meanwhile, NASDAQ, it was a little bit different, right? Even though it kind of was moving down, the compression it was not as clear. Like you couldn't just draw a simple trend line like that. It was a very more sharp moves up and down. Meanwhile, it was kind of a little bit of the same. Like you fake out the same lows that you're looking for, and you kind of could use then those lows as a zone to maybe look for for a long after finally price navigates, it breaks its highs, somewhere in here you could have got the entry, right? Maybe in here the entry, the type of entry that you would find in here to be a little bit different from the one on S&P, but it's maybe still quite similar in terms of confirmation, waiting for price to go there. Is this one in here? Or it was the other one that we just saw in the war time frame? Yeah, so at this point, NASDAQ, right, it has been more bullish than the S&P. We fake out this double top. There's maybe a little bit more room to go to this level of 15,500, somewhere in there. Yeah, the new one. Yeah, that looks nice. So we may get a little bit higher in there. However, as I mentioned, there was still maybe some orders in here at the highs that could still push or hold NASDAQ to the downside, right? That was something that we mentioned as well. There was maybe higher probability that S&P would break the highs comparing with NASDAQ. NASDAQ, maybe there's still something, even retracting from this level now, but there's even maybe above in here, closer to this zone, above all these highs, that price could still use it and then maybe push price a little bit more to the downside. Meanwhile, it already reacted, right? This low reacted from there, so it was a good reaction so far, which pushed price to the upside. So let's see exactly what's going to happen this week on NASDAQ, which is going to be quite interesting to see. Second. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Are you going to break new highs? Perhaps, maybe you can do that, but again, a little bit more room to the upside, I believe, on S&P and NASDAQ. NASDAQ could be perhaps be at a good level to look for, starting to look for a reaction from this level. This level in here can be interesting, as we just kind of mentioned. Maybe this in here can be a nice, interesting zone to look for another long. Bigger picture, we kind of still even are above this this bullish trend line that we have. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. Like this week, there wasn't that many big news. Yes, we had the PC yesterday. Then we had that panel that in the CB forum that happened in Portugal, Sintra. By the way, it's a beautiful place. If you haven't been there, it's a beautiful place to visit. It's nearby London, nearby Lisbon, not London. Yeah, so we had the central bankers from UK, Japan, US, and ECB, right? All of them, the four of them, they were there. Interesting conversation. And yes, from the Fed, maybe expecting at least one more hike, if not two, but at least one in July. It's basically what they are pressing in at this point. So yes, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. Even the GDP, actually, quarter to quarter, it was slightly higher, 2% than it was expected in the US. Yes, NASDAQ, we'll see if we're going to have new highs or not. If you go higher, then eventually we can maybe get closer to that 15,500 in there. But even if you break new highs, we may start having that kind of compression of price, kind of break the highs, but then go down again, and then kind of you may start having this kind of a move, right? Instead of just having momentum, we may have a break of a high and then move down again, and another one, and then move down again. So yeah, we'll see what may happen in there. And then we have Dow, the similar to S&P. This was a clear one, right? Clear trend line. Price kind of reached a little bit the edge of this compression that we had from here, right? This was the structure. You can actually see where is the last high that created this last low. Basically, that's a little bit of the range that you want to identify, and kind of where price eventually can go to. And we even have this last demand created in here in more precision, and that's actually where price end up reacting at from these zones, right? When we mention getting to the extreme of the other side of the compression, doesn't mean that it needs to touch exactly this zone, right? That doesn't mean that. It means the reaction to the structure that is created around the lows or the bottom of the compression, which is somewhere in here. Meanwhile, there you go. We broke to the upside, a little bit similar to to S&P, and you start having that move to the upside again. Natural target, something to expect from. And now, yes, we mentioned that there was maybe still some orders in here, and that actually price could have some kind of reaction from this level. So let's see now what's going to happen in here. Is going to respect it and start moving to downside, or is going to continue this move upwards and maybe even target this high. Yeah, it may even target that high. We'll see. I'll be maybe looking for a potential retracement in here. Yeah, let's see. It's a little bit of a compression already. Kind of managed to slightly take the low, or kind of creating that level. Yeah, let's see if we kind of start managing to break below this level in here. We may have a move further down in here on down. It's going to be interesting. DAX has been kind of a move to the upside again, kind of within this structure. That's kind of where we are at this point, which we're trading within this kind of range in here. This one reacted beautifully from that month zone. Meanwhile, now price kind of reacting now from this level. Again, in alignment with kind of these left shoulders in here. So let's see if price by any chance gets closer to that level and how it's going to react from this level. Since we respect these lows, we may even create a new high in there, or by any chance we're going to just keep trading within this range at this point. And meanwhile, we may retrace, may get closer to that level before maybe continue. It's going to be interesting. This, I think, can be one of the targets to look for in here, above this high, maybe getting a little bit closer to this level. That can be something interesting. Even if it took above this side, reacting from here, maybe that could be something interesting as well. Let's see how price is going to open next week. Yes, something in there. There's maybe something in here that could hold price down just above this high into there. Yeah, that will be start to for Monday morning if that's about to happen in here. Yeah, that's basically for the indices. Again, let's see what's going to happen in there. Euro index, right? So what we have in here is exactly what we kind of looked for the last week. We mentioned that there was a high probability that price would just resume the move to the upside and target this high and eventually get into this level, right? To be more precise, I do have kind of the zone a little bit above it. Price hasn't really touched it, but we start looking for price eventually to break above this high and filling out the range until we get closer to this level. And from here, eventually we could start looking for a potential reaction to the downside on the euro index, which is exactly what ended up happening. Like, we created kind of this double top in here. We started having some lows being broken, which is quite interesting. Also, this low as well may start looking for something like this. So we may be close eventually for a potential big move to downside. This week, again, another clear one comparing with the dollar index in this case. When we do had we fake out that high, right? When you get closer a little bit to that zone, we created this structure and we broke below. Then we kind of respected the level a little bit, and then this is a beautiful engulf. This is one of the best engulfs to downside that we can have in terms of confirmation. It's kind of that move like this, especially if this was initial respect the level, and then you break the zone. That gives a clear engulf down. Unfortunately for me, yes, I was looking for price to get a little bit higher. Again, I'm not trading euro index, like I'm actually looking to trade the other euro pairs, but this actually happened because I did miss euro pound that I was looking for a sell, because I was looking for euro pound to go slightly higher, for example, and not reverse where it did. I did also miss the euro Aussie. The reason for that is, Asian. It happened. I twisted retrace there. It happened during the Asian session, so I did miss the short on euro Aussie as well. But there you go. You could start positioning ourselves to look for shorts on the euro pairs, not just euro dollar, but the other euro pairs as well. Euro yen, euro Aussie, euro pound, euro CAD, and so on. Interesting price then yesterday actually ended up respecting this low, not breaking it, and now moving to the upside. So yes, I could still see even maybe price going there. I would definitely prefer to see this low being broken in order to continue to look for price to move further down. At this point, this low being respected, yeah, it kind of raises the question mark of what should I expect in here on the euro pairs. Are we going to now just resume the move upwards and now break even eventually break these highs? Maybe getting a little bit closer there before I move down, or not. For example, maybe price could respect something in here, just create a new low in there, and then finally have maybe that deep retracement either from here or from there before making the move down, right? So yeah, something to maybe keep an eye on to see exactly what the euro index is in here is going to do. Yes, but zone to look for, maybe there, eventually there. Is price going to still respect anything in here? We'll see. We're getting closer to this level, and this is kind of how it closed for the weekend. So we'll see. They do have kind of this level of shoulder in there. They kind of had that one that's already reacted from there. We'll see. What do you look for on the euro pairs, this euro index? You mentioned before on the euro that you're expecting new lows and then more ranging on the euro, right? Yeah, maybe if this brings new lows on the euro index. They have this previous level of structure, right? Maybe something here could respect price, but I would have I like to see this wall being broken. Friday high. You mean euro index, or because the high was on Wednesday? High. Okay, this one. EU. Yeah, I'll check EU in a bit. So this is what we have on euro index, which is going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. And the next one, and this is going to be, and they're getting really close to an interesting setup in here, is yen index. All right, we've been talking about yen index, and this is going to be, whenever it happens, it's going to be massive. So what we have, right? So what we did talk about for this couple of weeks. So we had the yen index making this bearish move to the downside, and it's quite strong. Like we had all this happening, especially all the way until here, until basically the middle to 20th of June. Since the 20th of June, basically for the last 2 weeks, for the last 10 days, we kind of start having a little bit more of still a continuation to the downside, but a little bit more control of the move, right? We start having a little bit more of a range in here, especially this last week. It was literally just a full range created during these last few days. While we had this big range in here, we actually had the yen index making a move like this. Like it finally touched 145. Okay, we have finally the dollar yen reaching the 145, which it was a key level last year, back in September, that the BOG decided to intervene for the first time last year. Right, it was actually 145. I don't know, 70 or 800, something like that. It was not exactly just 145, but it's starting to get around that level. So as the dollar yen was actually making out that move, because dollar yen, as we also mentioned, it was lagging in comparing to yen index, because yen index reached all the way through those levels faster than yen index, than the dollar yen. What I mentioned is exactly this level, like 145 on dollar yen is in here. This is where it was the first intervention. 151 on dollar yen, it was somewhere in here. So dollar yen was still lagging comparing with the with the yen index until we reach those levels. So eventually we would have that situation where we would have maybe dollar yen to start creating some momentum, while this yen index it would start to range a little bit, or kind of to compress, making smaller moves, and this starts to become a really interesting compression zone in here, right? This compression that we have, comparing the move that we had in here, all this compression starts to be quite interesting. And now that the dollar yen is about, it's already reached that level, we may be close to a move like we may be close to a certain move like this to happen, even if it is just until here, or even a little bit higher than that. Like, so we may start to have great opportunities to look for, in this case, longs on the dollar yen, on the yen index, and maybe shorts on the other yen pairs. Again, we don't need to rush into it. Even though if the moves, they can happen quite quickly, they're usually kind of a retracement. Price is not really going to go anywhere just in a movement. So let's see what we have in here on the yen index, right? We have this big range. It was kind of the question mark this week or these last few days, to which direction it would actually break first. It managed to break to the downside. Pick out now this level, eventually is going to take these highs, and it's going to be interesting now to see what kind of manipulation is going to happen as soon as we do that. It's going to be just a breakout, break and go, or break, comes down, respect this level and go, or even break, comes down, fake outs the one more time, and then go. Like, again, we still have also this trend line that can be maybe interesting to follow. Eventually this can have some kind of reaction, or can even maybe be used as a target eventually for this long in here, or maybe you can even draw, I think if you draw some kind of trend line like this, I think that's maybe gone already. I think maybe that's already been broken if you actually draw this trend line, but yeah, it's just indeed within this range. So yes, again, what we have even already in here, slightly break of a high in here, we managed to break these highs, so we maybe can even eventually even maybe look for something like this all the way until there. Again, we may be close to a good opportunity in here. You can even target below this level and these highs and kind of trade this range in here as a target eventually for a long kind of price. Sometimes this work a little bit asymmetrical, and maybe that can be also one of the targets eventually to look for any turn in here. So in terms of the yen index, it's a bit tricky because we don't have any historical lows in any data on the left side where these lows are reacting from, so it's harder for us to identify, but you can try to predict it on the other yen pairs, right? Again, keeping an eye whenever we break these highs in here, that can be a really interesting zone to look for. I will 100% be looking for that. To be honest, even yesterday, that finally price touched 145, and I'll touch it a little bit on that point on dollar yen. I look like a noob the way I traded it. The short on the dollar yen. A complete noob the way I got stopped out by the pip. Yeah, I'll show it in a bit. So this is yen index. Again, it's going to be quite interesting. Euro yen as well, quite interesting. Not euro yen, euro index quite interesting. Dollar index a little bit more in the size at this point to see what's going to happen. Moving on to the individual currency pairs. This is what we have, starting with euro. So Faden, you mentioned that you like the euro on the high end euro. Yeah, I'll take a look in the dollar yen in a bit, but I believe so that I think there's maybe more room to the upside. This is maybe just that initial sell off opportunity to start kind of maybe some institutionals to start putting some sells in there or closing their longs. I think we saw that. I think it was Thursday. The 1 minute candles on dollar yen, they were quite massive, like they were super big. It's not everyone that has the power to move the market like that on the 1 minute. It's either kind of they're closing their longs or they are starting to add shorts into their portfolio, into their positions. But it may take time, right? Those guys, they don't mind to be a little bit in a drawdown if price just goes a little bit higher. They need to kind of fill in their positions somehow. So that's kind of what they do in there. Yeah, euro yen, not euro yen, euro dollar, a little bit similar to dollar yen, to dollar index. Where are we? Kind of a little bit indecision. Yes, this was a nice zone in there. That was last week, and last week we also reacted from this demand zone. Went all the way up. Basically respected that zone in there. It could have been a good one. I think I was looking a little bit more higher, but it reacts from the base of this. So that was okay. Maybe this decision point in here after the break of this low, yeah, it could affect the market, and it did just that, kind of hold it. So yeah, meanwhile, we just continue to move down. I was not a big fan of anything like this. I think you got to really get short in here. Just during the news, I think this was Wednesday or something like that. It was a great short from your side, Feden. Meanwhile, yeah, price kind of retraced again, went there, starting to take these lows. And you are here right now, right? So we just broke the low and kind of reacted still kind of within this range in there. Yeah, a little bit indecision. I think if we do break below this low, we may open space to go into this compression. Meanwhile, if you just keep respecting this level, I think it may still respect it. It may still respect this low, and maybe price is ready to move higher. Yeah, so maybe this one here kind of important to see if we can actually manage break this level in order to open down, to move to the downside. It's not just because we break a low that we become 100% bearish. We are looking actually more of the zone itself than just a low that was broken in there. The zone is a little bit more this structure in here, not this low. So yeah, that's just something that we kind of are looking at. For example, it could be even a little bit more room to the downside, a little bit in here. I think that's actually what I was looking for, and price just paused a little bit above that. Yeah, I think I was looking for something in here, and price kind of paused in here. Okay, fair enough. It is what it is. Yeah. Meanwhile, kind of move to the upside. We are in this level. Yeah, not really sure on the euro dollar at this point what to expect in here. Just same story with the dollar index, to be honest. Is this high kind of a good level? Yes, it is. 100%. Is this going to be enough to push price down again? Yeah, question mark. Is price going to continue to move higher? Maybe. Going to respect something like this? Perhaps. Yeah, not really sure. Maybe something in here could still hold price, or you can even go a little bit more close to the highs and go down. Again, I could see many scenarios being played out in here. It was very kind to you. That's good to know, man. Yep, keep pushing. Keep pushing, man. It's good. It's good to know. Yeah, many scenarios that I could see happening in here. So yeah, open to all possibilities. To be honest, if you do manage to break below that, kind of as I mentioned, we may feel all this. There's maybe even something in here. Otherwise, we may just feel it. Start going a little bit more to the lows. Kind of still holding that. May go even higher. For example, is this the final destination of these highs? Maybe this price wants to go a little bit higher, getting closer to this level. Again, maybe price can even take this level top. Yep, why not? Same situation. Is this the low? Yeah, I don't really know. Like, so many levels that price could still go up and down at this point on euro dollar. So yeah, really do whatever it needs to do in the middle. Yeah. Yeah. Intraday, it's a different story. Looking at the weekly, not sure. You'd like a new lower low, but still respecting this level in here. Getting a little bit closer to here. I do have this level in here, which could be interesting. Somewhere 1.07898. Yeah, moving on. Pound. Yeah, we finally have this move to downside, kind of a little bit as we expecting. Price respecting that level during the interest rate decision 10 days ago. It kind of gave strength to the highs, which kind of eventually could start seeing a little bit more move to downside. This was a good zone below this low in that level. But actually pound eventually reacted from. There's already break of a low in there. Yeah, that was a kind of a good level in there. Kind of have an IKM as well in there. So it was a good level. We start having again, right? Same story. We start all of a sudden breaking highs, like starting to show indication that we want to turn. All of a sudden there's a big sell-off in here. I kind of fake out this level in here, and then all of a sudden we start moving higher. Like this was actually a good zone. Again, too early for me when price actually went there. It was kind of a good demand zone that was created in here, especially after the break of this high. We could have started to look for that move in here. Yeah, this demand zone in there was quite interesting. And then all of a sudden price started to move to the upside. Is this the final destination? Is pound going to stop in here? Is going to go a little bit higher? Is still going to go anywhere near close that level before making another move to the downside? I could see pound moving to the downside. I could see maybe price going a little bit higher first. We do have these left shoulders, and we kind of have that level in there that this highs never reacted from it. So it's kind of a little bit of what we have in here. 262. Where's 262? That's down. Yeah, retesting this level again. Yeah, it was for this was never reacted from here. It's a good level. I think that's actually maybe the best level. Still within this zone. If by any chance price wants to do something like this. Yeah, somewhere in here, I think that's reasonable. I would say yes to that. I'll definitely maybe say yes to that. It's a nice reverse in here. Yeah, it's gonna be maybe a nice demand zone. Is price just going to respect these highs? Is price going to get a little bit closer there? So price going to fake out. I may like this level for some reason. I like it kind of on 1 hour time frame. Maybe 30 minutes. Something in here. But I think if we start going further down, I'm not sure if I still like it. It's a lot of wicks in there. Yeah, not sure if I didn't like it on the lower time frame. Maybe in here, it's kind of this decision somewhere in there. We kind of have all these highs in here. Yeah, it was not the pair that I spent my time looking at as well. I was more looking, for example, on euro pound. That was a miss for me. The sell. Yeah, I think. Do you like this level? Then kind of 127.735, something like that. Somewhere in here. Oh, it's already all spiked up and there's nothing in there. Make it on 1 hour time frame. And pound sometimes like to do this, still this kind of moves in between. Not in alignment with some ranges. It's a bit different the way sometimes they go and correct those levels. Yeah. It's just something to keep an eye on. At least I will. In there. We'll see what's going to how it's going to open in here. Up to 280. Yeah, 280 would be already a different level, like kind of the test of this left shoulders in here. But yeah, it's kind of how the structure in here. And maybe on the lower time frame, of course, tick chart, maybe there's something in there. Yeah, I think it's either kind of at the base of it, or then you're going to take out these highs and maybe just above this high, maybe into somewhere in there. In between, I don't think I'll be looking for anything. It's either kind of straight away from the base or then kind of at the extreme of the zone. What I'll be looking for. Euro pound, like Euro pound was a much better setup. I was looking for price to get closer in there, which kind of missed. I missed the zone there. Let's go left. Yeah, we fake out, man. On the 30 minutes, we fake out the high. We then touch the next one, but we kind of fake out this level. Problem is on the lower time frame, then you never fake out the level. Yeah, I think it kind of respected that week. If you start going further down, you kind of still literally touch this one in here. And I had either this level or then that zone in there. Kind of the zone that created this big bearish candle and broke out these lows. That's kind of the next level that I had. And I wanted to price to get above that. Now on the other time, on the 15 and so on, as you can see, kind of it broke this level, right? To fake out that level. And yeah, price just paused in there. Now the approach, it was nice, right? Because it has a really good compression towards there, and then it kind of broke it and respected. But I was still waiting for price to get to the next level, and I just completely missed the move. I missed the short because of it. We kind of fake out this above top. That was a nice one, nice strong move to the upside in that compression in the lower time frame, and you could then have a good target. Even just retest of these lows could be already a good target with the potential to even break below and maybe even aiming further down in here on the Euro pound. For me, this was a easier move to look for. Even after the break of this, I stopped looking for the sell. But yes, for example, after the break of this, maybe in here you could have looked for another sell in there. After you fake out this level, you break below. This is a typical pattern that we see as a continuation. It creates a little bit of a range. It tries to go higher, then breaks the lows and retests this level as a continuation there. Opens the door, and then it can move to the downside from there on, and then this could have been the target, or then even farther below. So yeah, they even broke then eventually this trend line in here as well. No retest. Yeah, can look at this. Yeah, but again, this it's rated to the pound as well. I would just prefer to look at actually at this opportunity than whatever pound did in here. Is this now continuation to the downside? Maybe. Is price going to respect this demand zone? Again, maybe. We'll see, right? I think there's maybe more room to the downside. I will not be interested in looking for any opportunity now. I'll wait for price to get to one of those extremes. That's kind of the way I prefer to trade. Yeah, you are talking about the pound still on the 2826 to take the highs. Yeah, eventually you can go and take the highs. The same way that maybe even Euro pound can go all the way and take these lows. So we'll see now what's going to happen in here. But yeah, it was a miss for me. Aussie dollar, right? Really nice move, and eventually and finally it filled the compression in here, and now it's getting really closer to this level. This is something that I was actually looking for as well. This was a nice setup. That demand zone in there, it was still fresh between that level, but I was still looking for price even to go maybe a little bit lower to take literally these lows into more the extreme of this demand zone instead of just pausing where it did. Kind of a pause in here, which is good. It's a good zone to look for a reaction from in here, but then I was looking for price to maybe go a little bit more to the extreme. We had it again, start to break highs, then we had a fake out, create this double low in here, keep creating highs, and eventually go there. One of the reasons as well is kind of managed to break this high, but yeah, I'll prefer to have seen actually properly this structure being broken in here. And yes, then with the potential go a little bit more in there. It's kind of what I was looking for. Again, comparing with this one, with maybe EURUSD, that which is good to show in a bit. Again, EURUSD kind of stand out to me a little bit more based on this setup. But this was a nice one, nice little zone that was left behind, and price kind of just turned. Are we ready to start moving to the upside and do this, or price is just going to respect maybe this level and eventually continue to move farther down, closer to these lows? That's kind of the question. Right now we do have kind of these left shoulders in here, so we may go, for example, we may get closer to the base of this zone in here. Yeah, perhaps. So it may continue to look like this. It's going to be another interest rate decision. I think it's going to be either Tuesday or Wednesday morning. Expecting to be the same. There was a good data point, a good report, CPI report that came out last week, if not mistaken. It was better than expected in Australia. So maybe there's not going to be any hike, and it's going to stay at 4.1%. Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen in here. Yeah, big question mark is price even going to continue? For example, I still don't think that this will reach the final target, so eventually I could even see price breaking below this low. Meanwhile, we kind of broke these highs. It reacted from a good level. Like it's kind of the zone that broke these lows, respected, and then kind of moved down. That's kind of a key zone in there. So yeah, let's see what's going to happen on the Aussie dollar in here. Then we have EURUSD, right? And this was the one actually that I missed. We had this double top, right? It could be one of the targets. Really nice strong move to the upside. And then we had this fake out in here to look for it, right? And this is just an example that that's trading. End of story. Like it was a really nice zone. We are reacting from a good level on the left in here. Second, where are we? If not mistaken, I think it's somewhere in there. Yeah, it's somewhere in here at the bottom. Right, somewhere in there. It was nice reaction, nice previous level support resistance as well. But that was all good. We had that double top, massive top to fake out, and then even create this fake high in here as well to start creating. We start creating this structure. We have literally space still to be filled in here, and then we create that fake out in there. Right, we start to create. We go create this level, break this low, and then we create a fake out. Now the problem is that I was looking for this high to react a little bit closer to the level itself, kind of to get closer to here. Or something like that, and that never happened in this moment, which actually happened afterwards, the day before or the night before, and that was a sweep and test point. Like this was 2 AM in the morning or something like that, and that's it. Sometimes actually, if you precise it, even maybe the weekend here, that could have been a zone to actually look for. Yeah, somewhere in there, it could have been a good zone to look for the entry. You can even wait for price to kind of do that and then kind of look for another entry somewhere in there, right? So price sometimes does leave the zone that the extreme behind, because it goes there in the future to correct the order. And yeah, meanwhile you miss both entries in this scenario. Or then you could try to look for a better kind of a continuation as price is moving down. It's just me, I prefer to wait for there. And there you go. It was a nice setup on the EURUSD. All of a sudden you eventually, especially after breaking this low as well, start opening the doors to go even further down, and this could have been a good setup to try to look for, right? Fake out of this double top, then you have that small fake out in there, good reaction on the left, and then you have even kind of this pattern in here to look for a trade, and that will be hit, and that will be it. Now in here you can even open the door to go much lower, right? Can be actually really big opportunity to move to the downside. There's maybe even the chance for price to maybe have one last attempt to retrace kind of back to this level before making the final move down. It's something to keep an eye on. For example, these highs, they kind of left that zone behind, so there's maybe even an attempt to eventually go there. and fake out this level in here into something in this. And like this eventually could happen in there. Otherwise, you may even target all this and eventually get closer to this level in there on Euro Aussie, which can be interesting in here. So let's see. On the other side, just to counterpoint all this, is that this may be an engulf to the upside, comparing that we just broke this size, and if by any chance price wants to get closer, for example, to this extreme in here. If that's the case, we may actually have eventually a move to the upside and just break this size altogether. Yeah, so let's see where actually this low is going to react from. It reacts from a good level. Maybe that can be continuation eventually to now break above it. This can work again as an engulf upwards if price by any chance, for example, wants to go above this high. Something to keep an eye on the Euro Aussie. Yeah, Aussie Yen as well. It's a little bit more in regards to the Yen pairs. Again, the Yen pairs have been kind of doing their own thing for this last week. Aussie Yen has been moving down, right? It reacted from that high, as we talked about it. And if you're looking for a sell on the Aussie pair for 2 weeks ago, it would have been the Aussie Yen. It reacted now from the demand zone, so we may continue to move upwards. So looking to check a little bit more of retracement in here. Maybe you can break, eventually do something like this. We'll see. Targeting maybe that level. The supply kind of missed it a little bit, but eventually maybe can closer to the highs. Again, if the yen index by any chance starts to make that move to the upside, this one may do a massive move to the downside. Just keeping an eye on that one. And then the dollar yen, right? This is where I messed up. Finally, right? So we have been waiting and waiting and waiting, and we finally reached the 145. So this is, yep, this is where we are. 145, it finally reached that level. Which it goes into basically the base of this. Right, this was the zone that we were looking for, kind of since price kind of broke that level. The natural destination for the yen, the dollar yen, it will be to get to that, it will be to get to this next level of structure. Now, price may still go, and this is kind of what Faden also mentioned about. It's a good high, but still not convinced for the fall. Yeah, and so on, right? And price eventually could go even to 140. You mentioned 148. What's 148? Yeah, maybe in there. I still like this level first, right? I think there's something still in here that price could still use to push price down in over time frame. Let's just take a look at the approach and how price is going to approach that level. So that's bigger picture, right? And you can see that we have a little bit of this compression in here, which eventually can be filled, and price may get all the way until below this level, which maybe kind of retest this structure in here. This can eventually be something. What's up, Jack? How are you doing, man? Yep, something like this can eventually happen. And this can be a great opportunity to look for a sell, right? And of course, you want to try to be already, for sure, you want to try to catch this move to the downside. Can be quite interesting. Now, something that we are looking at on Thursday, especially myself and with during the live session that we did, and we were following the yen pairs, and this is what you could see in here, which was quite interesting, right? So the yen, it started to print a really big sell, like bearish candles in here, another 1 minute really strong in here, another one in here. And this is not related to any news, like there was no news around this level. You have this one, you have this one, you have even this one in here, right? And it's interesting, like who has the power to even place orders like this? And then anytime price was moving upwards, it was like more in a compression way, kind of slow move up, but then boom, another big candle to the downside. And what I meant was, I was looking price in here, I was looking for the reversal. I was actually looking for potential selling here on Thursday. But something that I didn't like about it, it was that, and as I mentioned before, a good clue actually that price is about to kind of reverse or create kind of that zone 4 move, is that there is there's some kind of momentum to the upside before the drop. My price wouldn't just kind of do this, especially when it is kind of a little bit in a compression. Price wouldn't just do this and then kind of drop. There's also a little bit of a big move, or kind of a little bit of momentum to the upside, and then get rejected. This momentum in here, this is what kind of scares a little bit the sellers to look for. Like, we don't have it in here. We may have it a little bit in here, but not much. We definitely don't have it in here. We don't have it in here. We don't have it in here. We don't have it in here. This kind of just at about top in there. Like, when do we have it? We don't have it in here. And when do we have it is actually afterwards. Right? This was during the CPI then. Right? This is a different move. Like, this is what you're talking about. This is what's going to scare people to sell it or to collect possible stop losses, whatever it may be, from that move. Like, if you notice something like this, if you start noticing the approach, starting breaking lows, perfect, exactly what you want to see. Right? You want to see breaking of a lows, and then all of a sudden you do finally have that big momentum to the upside. This is okay. This tells you, okay, maybe the fake out, the high is in place, and now you can start looking for orders on the right side of the move. And of course, as obvious, as we mentioned so many times, the left shoulder of the move, it's always a good zone to look for trade. And this is where I messed up. I noticed this compression for some reason. I never do this, but for some reason yesterday I actually tried to trade this level, and for some reason, I don't know why, I placed actually my stop loss just literally in here. There you go. I got short, I got stopped out, and price just moved. Yeah, it's just ridiculous what I did. Being aware of these scams is actually part of my strategy, part of my trade, and I just literally placed my stop loss in the wrong place that I could have, and yep, messed up. Fake out happened, and then yes, something that unfortunately for me happened is that price never retraced back again, because I was looking for another sell somewhere in there, and price kind of just kept dropping, and it never retraced back to this level. So I literally then missed the second opportunity, because I would have shorted again if price had kind of retraced again towards this level in here. 100% I would have shorted it again in there. Yep, so I just missed it completely. So yeah, after weeks of waiting for price to touch 145, price finally touched it. There's a beautiful setup, and I just missed the trade in there. Yeah, we have this beautiful setup. Like you can literally see, we have been goofed downside. Everything is in there. We even have the height fake out, which is exactly actually what I got, where I got faked out. There you go. It happens. Yep, and meanwhile, price is now reacting from this level. If we do break below this level, that's going to be interesting. Eventually, I think we may feel this range. I hope, and this is not because I'm still not short, I hope price is going to make another move up in order to maybe provide the opportunity to look for that sell opportunity, which maybe this high can be now the new zone to fake out, even though I kind of still like to the zone in there at the highs to potential sell, kind of where I wanted to short it. Again, price never retraced, kind of the maximum it did, it was this level, so there's maybe something in here that price could use for a sell, or kind of at least above this all these highs in here. So yeah, so something like this, it will be kind of where I'll be looking for, maybe in there, or maybe a little bit at the extreme. Meanwhile, yes, you can still go a little bit higher than that. If we actually check it, like you're kind of reacting from this level, and we do have still that supply level exactly at 145,976, which is basically actually where it was intervention happened last year, one of the interventions. So yeah, all this on the yen, and this is kind of something that I'm looking for. I'm going to keep an eye on the yen index. If you do break above that range to the upside, eventually you might have that. We have this compression to fill. This is already a break below it, so eventually we may have this to happen. I will definitely be bearish in here. It happens to all of us, man. I know. Yeah, I will be 100% looking for potential sells in here. As soon as I have good PA, good price action, good indication, I will go for it. In here, it's interesting. We have this accumulation of highs. Price in there can still actually be a good sell opportunity to look for. Yep, we may feel that again with the momentum to the yen index. I think that could be quite interesting. I'm not sure if there's going to be big news events on the end next week. But yeah, the pressure is there for the Bank of Japan. And maybe we start having these moves to the downside. For example, even, and kind of as Faden mentioned, perhaps from here we just make this move. Then we kind of refill. You may then have a new highs. And then finally we may have the bigger turn, which maybe goes all the way until here. Right? This may happen, right? Price may not feel completely out this move all the way to back to 138 or whatever it may be. Until here, right? But yes, for sure I want to try to capitalize already on this move. Just similar last year, like there was, we call it actually, if you check the live stream from last year, we literally call this move precisely with the target into this demand zone. So everything was called actually 1 week before, or kind of a few days before. So you can literally look at it. This about top doesn't lie. We are literally expecting the fake out to happen and everything to happen in there. Yes, it's similar last year, right? We had this big move to downside. It was literally, I don't know, many pips in here. 560 pips. All of a sudden, just in one morning or kind of in a couple of hours. And then we finally had another move to the upside. And then you have the big reversal on the end, right? So again, something like that can happen. Again, we may have the first one up until here, and then kind of the devil continuation, and eventually maybe have the bigger one occurring, whatever it may be, right? It can be even smaller. It doesn't need to be as big. It can be maybe just until here, whatever it may be. So yeah, just try to find those opportunities in here. And for now, this compression, it starts to be quite obvious. Meanwhile, the other yen pairs, like we had the big momentum to the downside on the euro yen kind of follow. We do have all this accumulation of structure. This could have been a great sell opportunity in here. It was actually indeed a great potential sell opportunity under test of this level. Meanwhile, we do have kind of all this structure. We may fake out eventually these highs to try to push price to downside. We kind of broke already a little bit that structure, even though kind of retested this support resistance level. Again, we may have, if the end pairs by any chance wants to drop, eventually we may get closer to this level. Yeah, personally, I would like to see this highs being taken before this move down happens in here on the euro yen. On the yen, again, kind of moved to the downside initially. Now with the momentum to the upside on the pound, this pound yen kind of followed. We are reacting or getting really close again to kind of this range in here. We may go a little bit higher. That is something to keep an eye on in there. We start creating this compression. We may go all the way eventually to fill this, and then maybe continue to move to the upside, right? So again, the yen pairs, almost all of them, they have some kind of compression in place, which eventually can be filled quite quickly if the dollar is if the yen is actually about to turn. All right, CAD. There you go, CAD. Where are we going? All right, so we reacted kind of from this level in here. I think we may still go a little bit higher into that zone. I think that could be something to look for. Maybe this low is still not kind of the final destination. Maybe then just resume the move to the downside after breaking all this. We did have this high in here. We fake out that level. This was a nice zone in there. We kind of managed to break this low in here. I did manage to catch at least this sell opportunity in there. I close most of it somewhere in there, and I'm still kind of looking. I still have part of the trade open, looking for price maybe to get closer to the lows. I would like a kind of a setup I would be looking at. It would be for something like this to happen in there. Now, yes, I'm still aware that price may want to go there. Is price going to respect anything in here and push price to the downside? Kind of this level managed to hold it quite nicely. This is the beginning of the compression, and this is kind of the other kind of compression before this move to the upside. And price managed somehow to respect this extreme in here. So that's maybe not an engulf down on the CAD in here. All right, you kind of have a little bit of the compression. Then this is the beginning of a new one. This literally separates between this zone and kind of this level. And price managed to respect that little zone. Yeah, let's see how price is going to open this week. If price by any chance has anything in here that can hold it, and price keeps pushing to the downside, or if it just continues to move upwards, and that's what it is, and maybe price then can go towards to this level in here. Thanks, man. Yeah, so yeah, let's see what's going to happen in there on the cut. Yeah, I 100% would like to see price going down. So again, this is one of those moves that we're actually looking for. Again, great reversal setup. We start breaking highs, we start having accumulation of lows. It's like the pattern is almost always the same, guys. Honestly, it's just being patient to wait for price actually to start creating lows, starting slightly to break highs, create kind of a little bit of momentum, making it look like it's a double top, a double bottom in this case. Wait for it, create a double bottom. Yeah, UP, let's create more momentum in here. Price breaks highs, and then eventually, again, the momentum, like you want to see momentum to the downside, a breakthrough with some strength to literally take the stop loss from everyone in here. Everyone that is waiting for the breakout setup to look for a sell gets excited because now price breaks with momentum, and all of a sudden the turn happens. Unfortunately, here is that price never kind of retraced back in here, and kind of the way it moved, it was always kind of in this kind of dodgy way to the upside. It never had, during all this move to the upside, we never had a deep retracement happening. That's why actually I was expecting or hoping that we could have kind of a deep retracement happening on dollar cut, since we haven't that just yet during all this move upwards. Like we never had this type of retracement before kind of going upwards. We haven't had exactly that manipulation in here, but the pattern in here from all this, that's quite yeah, it starts screaming. It's basically price is starting to tell everyone I'm about to back to be bullish. I'm turning, I'm breaking highs, I'm starting to break highs. The bullish are starting to jump into the market, and then kind of it creates the final turn in there. Where did it reacted from? It kind of took a little bit this level of structure from here into, and that's actually I think a good zone in there, right? Actually price reacted from. I think it's actually this demand zone in here where actually price kind of reacted from in here, which was also the last supply in here that was actually ignored on the way up. So it actually kind of reinforces that zone in there. So yeah, let's see what's going to happen in here. Totally aware that price may still want to go there, and eventually may have a deep retracement in here. If price goes down first without going there, I may look for longs in here eventually to push price there. If price just goes up in here, kind of let's pretend that it respects its level in here and starts moving down, most likely I'll not be looking for any longs in here. I'll just expect new lows to be created after that in here. So that's a little bit of my thought process on the cut and what you are looking for on dollar cut. Dollar franc Swiss, this one makes me upset. I ignored the level, man. Yeah, this is yeah, I ignored the level. Someone called it and I ignored it because I was looking at it as a kind of a break of a high again. And usually when you do have those break of a high, especially with price respecting these lows, it kind of creates a little bit of momentum. I didn't give the right importance. I didn't even notice now that actually price reacting here. I didn't give the right importance of this zone in here, and I thought that as soon as you kind of break this, maybe we can have actually the momentum to the upside. And there was actually great to be taken in here with the break below on the test of this level. There could have been a great short opportunity on dollar franc Swiss, and I actually been looking for sales all this time because I'm still looking for dollar franc Swiss to get to this level, right? To take these lows before any final turn to the upside. This one for me is an engulf upwards. Meanwhile, I want to see price going all the way down to take this above low, and from here I'm going to be looking for potential longs So again, I'm still looking for eventually price to keep pushing down, keep pushing down, keep pushing down. Again, that could be dollar index can help with that as well, eventually to keep pushing this one to the downside. So yes, eventually we're going to take out these lows. Let's see, I'll prefer to see a new barrier being created just above this level, again to track liquidity into here before then you finally have this kind of a move and price is finally ready to skyrocket in here. So that's a little bit my thought process, but yes, yeah, not happy with that one neither in this dollar franc Swiss. I literally ignored it. I didn't give the right importance to the zone on the left, and yeah, just it is what it is. It would have been a great sell opportunity in here. Yeah, definitely last Friday I was more focused on shorts on the dollar than longs. Didn't really like the euro dollar, didn't really like the pound, but CAD, dollar yen, and dollar franc Swiss, they could have been a great shorts opportunities yesterday. And what a move that would have been, right? Just literally straight move to the downside, and it may continue. Maybe finally now it may continue to move down. Maybe retest this level, and you may continue to finally take this lows. Let's see what's going to happen in here. But yeah, dollar franc Swiss, what a good move that happened yesterday. Gold, gold, right? So again, compressing quite a lot. We slightly took this high. Again, strong move to downside. That's usually kind of, again, momentum down, momentum up. That's one of the biggest flaws or mythos in the market, right? That you want to see momentum when price breaks something, and it gives you the jump into the trend continuation setup, expecting that then price is going to even drop all the way down or go to the moon. And usually it's kind of the opposite. I'm actually scared anytime price kind of just breaks some lows with the momentum. If I'm short and if I see price kind of breaking lows with super momentum, I'm actually kind of a bit more concerned that actually if price just breaks it slowly and kind of then continues down. Yeah, anytime with the momentum, most likely it's actually just a reversal. It's about to happen. And maybe it's time to take some profit out. Gold, it reacted from here. I'm not really the big fan of where it's reacting at this point. I think we could have more momentum to the downside. I think that could happen. Meanwhile, okay, this is a demand zone. We have this important level of structure in here. So we are getting closer to this level, all right? It was a big separation in here. So somewhere in here can be some zone. We have kind of a quasi model in there somehow. We have all this accumulation of highs. So yeah, if we then eventually break below, we may get closer to this level in here. Like it's another one that has been quite compressing, moving down, creating lows. Unfortunately, yeah, price never really reacted from that zone. Yeah, let's see what's going to happen in here on gold. Yeah, nice move, nice break. Yeah. This level managed to hold price. Eventually, maybe we can target that level to break above it. Eventually, to continue to move higher in here. Yeah, that's something to keep an eye on. Hi, Francis. Howdy, man. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, gold. We'll see what's going to happen. Not sure if the low is in place or not in there. Oil was a miss as well. I did got long in here, but then I completely messed up in there. Yeah, another one, range, and another move that respected the lows, and another move to the upside. Interesting PA in here. We broke these highs, reacted again, kind of respected the demand zone, and we moved to the upside. And again, a few lows to fake out, and there it went. Nice reaction a little bit from this level so far. So this could have been a good zone to look for some kind of reaction. But meanwhile, maybe the final destination for these longs may be through test of those highs. Again, we may have a little bit maybe move down and then maybe continuation to go to the upside. Yes, this level in here, it was something to look for a reaction from. Again, destination maybe in here, and then you can even fake out these highs in here, maybe getting a little bit closer higher, and then maybe move again to the downside. Again, let's see for how much longer we are going to stay within this range on oil in here. Again, as long as kind of price is at the extremes, there's maybe opportunities to try to trade it in there. And last week there was maybe actually a good setup in there to take on oil. And then crypto, man. What's going on in here? What's going on in here? Yeah, there you go. We kind of, I think we talked about that last week with the possibility of price still respecting something at the highs, right? There was literally still orders left behind in there. All of a sudden we start creating this double top, which starts to create even better, the possibility of price reacting from there, it starts to increase. Because now we have clear liquidity to collect above this highs, and something even better that happened is that we actually managed to break below this double low, right? So we had the engulf down, and you have highs to fake out towards the level in there, right? So that's exactly something that we wish to look for when we are trading within the ranges like that. That's exactly something that you want to look for. Meanwhile, price actually was still respecting from a good zone on the left. Right, it's that David demand zone in there, and there you go. We actually yesterday, I think, managed to break below that that low. It's going to be interesting if this actually starts opening the door again to go a little bit more to the downside or not. With a good reaction straight away. Again, we may still have reaction from here at the top, or even somewhere in there. Can also be something interesting. Yeah, it is a typical one. Fake out now this left shoulder. We have the pattern in there as well, and then the sell off happened. So, yep, I'll back to the same stage almost. Let's see how price is going to react within this level. Now we have all this accumulation of lows as well. Again, fake out, retest, same level. Let's see what's going to happen. In here as well, maybe it can happen something in here. So kind of that's kind of what we are looking for at this point. The sell opportunity that we are looking for that happened yesterday, which is kind of the drop in here to fill basically all this range. And now you need to reassess again to see how price can react from the highs. We kind of maybe have opened the door in here a little bit. This is something that we need to pay attention to. Question mark is from where? Maybe getting closer to the highs again. We're looking for an opportunity to sell in there. If you open actually the door to go maybe closer there. Yeah, so yeah, we'll see. I've kind of now I went with that one as well, because now we have this hot shoulder, we have all this double top, we have the fake out. Maybe in here can be something to look for. Ethereum, right? Ethereum actually mentioned that there was a high probability that eventually could break these highs, because these highs actually broke this level, and there's maybe more room to go to the upside until there. Meanwhile, we had broken this low, so we actually then filled the spice all the way into this level of structure, and that's kind of what happened. So from here, we kind of respected it, and now you can have the continuation to the upside. We just managed to break these highs, and maybe can get a little bit closer to this structure, right? That's a little bit more clean in terms of what to look for the next destination. Again, Bitcoin with move not last week, the week previous that it already broke these highs. Ethereum is nowhere near close these highs yet, so there's maybe a little bit more room to the upside on Ethereum. It's lagging in comparing with the level itself on Bitcoin. This is something that you can try to take advantage of if you are trading it. Yeah, maybe a little bit more momentum to the upside in here. As you can see, yesterday, even with the big move down to with a big move to the downside that happened, Ethereum didn't even manage to break this low, while Bitcoin managed to break the low, the same low created on the 28th of June, right? So interesting to see in terms of price action. Again, same moves, same move to the strong move to the downside, same kind of move, strong move to the upside. One breaks the structure, the other one doesn't break the structure. One breaks the highs, the other one nowhere near still close to the break of the highs, right? Yeah, just the correlation in there, it's quite interesting, and to see how price actually respects some levels of structure and kind of keeps doing the same thing. So yeah, maybe a bit more room to the upside in here on Ethereum, maybe getting closer to that level, if not even aiming all the way towards there. To keep an eye on. If you by any chance you then eventually break below this low, yeah, the next structure to be maybe in here to look for. Yeah, and that's basically it, guys. Yeah, looking forward for next week to see what the euro is going to do. The euro index is going to be a continuation downside. They're going to fake out the highs before that, and in particular the yen pairs. That's going to be, yeah, for sure. I'm going to spend my focus and energy in looking for the yen pairs. Hopefully dollar yen is going to give another opportunity close to the highs before maybe filling out this range. The indices, in particular the US indices, are also quite interesting to see how it's going to react now from the top, from the highs. They're going to have unemployment NFP on Friday, more unemployment data on Thursday, if not mistaken. So it's going to be an interesting week ahead. Yeah, in regards to the dollar index, we'll see if we gain any direction that helps to define then what to expect next. Yeah, that's basically my focus for next week. Thank you very much, guys, again for taking the time to be here. If you are watching the recording as well, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Leave any comments if you'd like me to cover anything different on the next session. Enjoy your weekend. Happy month, everyone. I hope you guys have a great second part of the year. Great third quarter also of the year. It's that time of the year to review your trading performance, set up new targets, set up new goals, and do that work. Thank you. Bye bye. Adios. See you next time.